Hey guys, it's Fowler here. Today we're going to go through my track Hot, and I'm going to show you how I made it. Here we go. First of all, we got the intro, which is mostly this, let's see, kick, a tom, whatever this is. Hold on. Just like a percussive bass kind of thingy, going through OTT and EQ, a tiny bit of room reverb, and this fruity bouncer, which I think was just because it kind of had some noise when I let the key off. Next, what do we got here? Okay, so this is one of the main sounds in the song, but it requires this pitch envelope. So this sound, let's see, actually. Okay, so this is actually not the main sound. The main sound is this saw pluck, which is pretty straightforward. I mean, a lot of my sounds are pretty straightforward. It's just the context is what gives them the interesting side. Let me see what this is. It's really just some a detuned saw with 2 octaves and 7 semitones up, layered with it with a 24 dB per octave filter with the pluck and the let's see what we got for effects. So that's a low pass that's opening up as we move through the intro. I've got an OTT, of course, wave shaper. Before I realized that you have to turn on this HQ thing to get rid of that. There's like this dithering or like this quantization noise, especially if you have anything with a tail. I only kind of embarrassingly realized that you have to turn that on probably 3 weeks ago in order to get rid of that. But whatever, it's part of the sound. I believe this high pass is really just for the intro. Let's fast forward through the intro. Yeah, okay. So really, both of those things could have been done in the same EQ. I'm opening up the low pass on one EQ and I'm opening up the high pass on the other EQ. But that's okay. Transient, because it was too clicky, if we turn that off, the clicks peak a little bit too much. And then another wave shaper, of course, with the HQ turned off. Let's see if you can hear a difference with it on. You might not be able to on this because it doesn't really have a tail. Nah, I don't really hear a difference. Okay, so this ad really just kind of sounds like, it just almost sounds like another oscillator in that same synth, and it looks like it was based off of the same synth that I might have just modified. It's up to whereas the other one started at 0 octave, this one's up 2 and this one's up 3, and a slightly different filter, but it really was just to add that kind of top end stuff. All right, now we're getting into kind of the dan sidechain. So this is a free plugin that I love. It's called Rave Generator, and it's just a bunch of old sampled rave sounds. It's like a rompler pretty much. And it's going through some effects. The biggest thing is the reverb. If I turn the reverb off, it's mono. If I turn the reverb on, I'm really just using that reverb. I've got it really short, and that's just to add some stereo width to it. I also have this vintage verb, which as we move through the build up, I believe the mix knob on that, maybe that's just in the second build up. Anyway, oh, hold on. I'm sure there's an envelope here somewhere that controls. I haven't worked on this in a while, so just kind of learning myself. Okay, so we're working through the intro. Let's see. All right. Some top drum shit. Nothing too crazy happening here. I'm willing to bet that it has a low frequency noise to it that I didn't want. I just kind of wanted mostly the crispiness of like the vinyl. That was really what I wanted out of that loop, and that's why I have it high passed, and that's what it does. Let's see what else we got. Okay, what do we got here? All right, vocals. They come in right off the bat.
Get it while it's hot, cause in another week it will be not.
It's yeah, that's me saying those words. Let's see if we
get it while it's hot, cause in another week it will be not.
So I don't really know. I think I probably messed with the pitch. I think what I was going after originally was I wanted that like hip hop kind of sampled sound that they put in some bass house tracks, like the kind of they took a slow hip hop song and they sped it up to like a house tempo, and because they sped it up, the pitch went up. That's originally what I was going after. That's why if I put the pitch to 0, it's pitched up. But then I eventually decided that I wanted it to be a lower pitch, so I pitched it back down. And these are just different. Oh God, do I want to hear this? Let's see what this. It's me saying the same thing, but like differently.
Cause in another week it will be not. It's hot. Cause in another week get it while it's hot.
Let's see. Oh, come on. Well, there we go.
Get it while it's hot, cause in another week it will be not.
I think that's the original. Let's
get it while it's hot, cause in another week it will be not. Get it while it's hot, cause in another week it will be not.
Wow. Okay. And if it sounds low pass, that's because it is.
Get it while it's hot.
And this is just straight up the dry recording of. Wow, that was me walking away from the microphone. I don't even know what this is, but we're gonna. Wow. Me walking to the microphone? Wow. Some ASMR shit right there.
Get it while it's hot.
Wow. Okay. So I'm sure I might have. I don't know how many times I got to undo here. Let's undo playlist move clip. Let's go back to this. In fact, I might just edit this out. And we're back. Okay. All right. So we're back to the vocals. All right, let's listen to some build-up elements here. We got these. Which is just a big reverbed out kick, and I'm just modulating the envelope of it just to make it less intense. This is your standard growing snare drum where the pitch is going up. And you can see this is how I usually do my swing. I just kind of find an offset so that, you know, any other 16th note. And then I try to make sure that all the loops and all of the samples and stuff I drop on the playlist all have that same swing. Okay, let's see. Where are we at? Oh. All right, riser. It's pretty simple. This is... You can see this macro controls. It makes the first oscillator go up, and it makes the second oscillator go down, and it also, we have some noise, but that's basically it. It's going through some distortion and EQ. All very standard stuff. And like I said in my last breakdown, I like to layer my own risers with like, you know, sampled risers. I don't like to rely solely on one or the other. So this is, and that's just as, you know, straight from a sample pack. Another one right here, reverse cymbal. This is my synth one that I made, which is the main one. And when you layer them all together, they kind of, you get the character of the mostly, or what I try to do is I try to get the character from like the synth that I created. That way it doesn't just sound straight up like, you know, Cymatics riser number 52 or whatever. But I still like Cymatics riser 52, and I like what it brings to the table, so I'll layer it in there. And then when you add them together, you get kind of... Okay, interesting note that I realized when I was making the VIP is, let me put this over. I screwed something up. So if we listen to the vocals like this, and this is something that, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't tell you because now you're gonna hear it, but I messed this up.
Get it while it's hot. Cause in another week it will be not.
So I'm just gonna turn off the reverb. And let's listen to it with a click.
Get it while it's hot. Cause in another week it will be not. Cause in another week it will be not. Cause in another week it will.
So this was actually supposed to be.
Get it while it's hot. Cause in another week it will be not. Cause in another week it will be not.
But it's actually.
Get it while it's hot. Cause in another week it will be not. Cause in another week it will be not. Cause in another.
So that's in the actual song, but that's okay because it's so reverbed out. It's just whatever. Oh, let me put the reverb back on.
In another week it will be not.
So now you know. There you go. All right, drop.
In another week it will be not.
This is like a drum fill. That I wanted to. This is the volume envelope, just to make it a little tighter. Okay. So, the dun-duns are made up of a lot of things, as you can see. So let's listen to them individually and see what they sound like. This is the first one. You really hear that sound towards the end of the track during the outro, but that's like one of the main wubs. This is the sub. Let's take a look at this wub. I don't even know what that macro, what does this macro even do? Huh, interesting. So it's just a weird square thing going through filter. The reason why that macro didn't really do much right here is because there's also a low pass happening here. But actually, if you hear that, the noise at the top, the that's the difference the HQ button makes. And man, I wish I knew that before. I don't necessarily regret doing it that way because it adds some like top end air, but I always had to mess with it when I had that and I didn't want it. And I just took it like, oh, that's just the way that the wave shaper sounds. That when the sound gets really small, you hear all that quantization noise. I didn't know you could turn that off. So I'd always have to like low pass filter it or use like if it was like a tail or had reverb going into a wave shaper, I'd always have to like automate the volume afterwards or something. So there you go. Free tip. Maybe you already knew it. Maybe it was just me that didn't know that. Okay. Fucking noise. Let's hear this one. Let's turn that one off. Okay. That's a very annoying sound. Yoy. I mean, this is just like an ad sound. It really was just to emphasize I think like the initial wub of the wub, if that makes sense. Okay, let's hear this one. Now this synth is one of the main synths because it has that little the fill. I think that's a pretty like characterized sound in this song. And this is most definitely Harmer, yeah. So one thing I love about Harmer is this phaser option, and I don't think I've ever once used the phaser with the LFO. I always set the speed to 0, and then I control it myself. And now how many times do I have to undo to get back? That seems fine. Okay, so let's listen to this without the effects. There's quite a list of effects, so let's turn them all off. Okay, that's pretty drastic. And again, we can hear that noise that I could probably fix right here. You know, I would change this one. Because not the ba ba ba, but the bam bam bam, that part, it makes the low pass modulation a lot clearer because we don't have that high kind of crispy noise bleeding through. Yeah, I do regret not using it on that one. Anyway, let's turn off these effects again. You can hear it's very. I mean, the characteristics are there, the harmonics are there, but it's really the distortion and the fact that I put this Valhalla reverb at the very start of the chain. So first it goes through this Valhalla, then it goes through this C6. Oh, let's turn the effects on. That would help. And that's really just squeezing. I would say it's mostly controlling obviously the top end there. But it's just generally shaping. It's not doing a whole lot. It's just kind of trying to control the dynamics before it heads into Homicide. And for Homicide, I was just using 2 of the bands. Let's solo the bottom one. So you can hear most of it. If we turn that off, that's where most of the distortion is coming from. This smart, I don't know what smarty. I don't remember what it's. Oh, it's just Smarty. Okay. One time I found on the internet, I found like the transfer functions. Oh, I just fucked it up. Great. And I can't undo, of course. Well, it doesn't really sound that different, so I guess we're fine. Anyway, I found the transfer functions for all of these, all the different distortion models, and I wish I knew where I found that. I wonder if it's just like in the help. It's probably just in the help thing. Who knows? Anyway. That's where most of the distortion comes from. Then we've got, this is interesting. Maybe I was trying to emphasize some formant voicing I was hearing in there or something. I don't really know. But then it goes through this guy, which is really just for build-ups. It's off most of the time, except as it builds up, it starts to... It does that so that I can pull it right back down and it's tight for the drop again. This fruity limiter you can see is just barely at the top. It's not really doing anything here, but I feel like there's parts of the song, maybe during the reverb parts, where it's just catching some peaks and making my life easier in the master bus. This Maximus is doing a lot. You can see it's doing quite a bit on the overall, but it's also boosting a lot of the highs, mids, and controlling the lows. So again, this is more, it doesn't change the sound a ton, but it helps me in the master stage because I don't need to, I don't need to worry so much about all these peaks adding up. Because when you start to have as many tracks as I tend to have in my songs, the peaks all add together, and then you've got like crazy amount of dynamic range going into the master bus. I try to control that before it hits it. This guy, I see a low pass. That's probably for a build-up. I'm sure that's automated down during the middle build-up. And that's that sound. For the most part, I'm generating some interesting harmonics with the phaser, because if I turn this off, it's just a normal wub 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 square like bass sound, you know. But when I bring this phaser in, you can see how it's like selectively picking different harmonics, and I'm using the deeper algorithm, and then the whole signal chain is really just to emphasize. You can see the difference between this without the phaser and that with the phaser. I'm using all of the distortion and compression and multiband compression, all that shit, EQ. I'm using that to emphasize the characteristics that are coming from this phaser happening. And again, I don't think I've ever used the speed knob. Okay, great. And I've managed to mess it up. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I should mention it's on harmonic. It sounds a little more silly when it's in the other ones, but harmonic, yeah, sounds the best for this sound anyway. Let's see what it sounds like with a sawtooth. Yeah. Anyway, that's that sound. Moving on. Fake horns. Okay. This is probably a contact. Oh. So this is I think what I did for this one was, yeah, I played a staccato horn thing just like in the Contact stock library, and rendered it out and then loaded it into Harmor. One thing you can do with Harmor is when you load in a sound, if it's a stereo sound, you load it into A and B, and then you come over to B and you click side, and you can see that's the side information and that's the middle information, and then halfway between. And that just allows you to maintain the stereo sound while you're playing it in Harmor. Why is it so quiet? Sidechain? Anyway, it's pretty, yeah, it's just that sound. I think I wanted... Like, I could have just played the Contact instrument and sent that through, but I wanted to mess it up a little bit with Harmor, distort it, add some of this harmonizer to it, and use a low-pass filter with you know, a wub kind of shape to it. So I wanted it to sound like a fake horn. I think what I was going for was like a synthesized horn, like something you'd find in an old keyboard or something like that. And then it gets distorted, of course, with the HQ knob off. That's not that different. High pass, and okay, this Valhalla room is being used for a build up. Right now it's at 0, but during the middle build there to the second drop, it gets modulated up and gets all messy and then tightens up and hits the drop. Okay, rave. This is that rave generator again. That's kind of the main sound you hear. And it's kind of a complex chord. When you add them all together, it's funny. You kind of almost can't tell what note it is. It just sounds like noise that goes dun dun. Okay, we need some modulation here somewhere. And then I don't know what. This is the pro. Okay. Somewhere there's a automation clip that's modulating the reverb. So this is the next one, Detune Serum. Sitting on my seat. This is a patch that I made for some other reason, and I think I'm playing it kind of in the wrong octave. It's kind of meant to be like a wub sort of thing, and it's more so being used just as another layer. Oh, I'm having some CPU issues. Whoops. let's play these all together. What we got so far. So the last thing is strings and brass. So these... This is a contact instrument playing a staccato string going through decapitator, getting distorted, getting high pass, just adding more character and simple brass sample. Brass and okay. Oh, I see. I was like, how are these named the same? This is uppercase brass and this is lowercase brass. These are two different clips. If you're wondering how I did that, if you open up a clip and you hit F2 and you keep hitting F2, you can kind of pick different colors. Sometimes I'll do that when I have two clips that look the same, but one's tuned differently, like in this situation. Just to make it easy to see, I'll just open one up and smash the F2 button a few times, and then I can clearly see which ones are which. Okay, so let's play those all together, and we get... You'll have to excuse my CPU because I'm running OBS Sonar to record the audio and FL with a project with 106 odd tracks of stuff. So we're going to have some CPU issues. That's okay. If you want to hear it without the CPU issues, you can just listen to the actual song. All right. So we got dun dun da 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 da. So, coming back to this, and side chain. One thing to emphasize. Oh wait, hold on. You kind of, it's funny to listen to these, and. That's kind of a weird note to play there. Especially considering this one is so low. You almost can't hear the note, what note it is. Okay, and then of course we talked about the ba-ba-ba. Now that's kind of the call, and this is kind of the response. This thing right here. So let's take a look at that. Wrong octave. This is kind of like an old school dubstep trick where you have like a really low sign and a really high sign and you send them together into a bunch of distortion. And the way they interact gives you that kind of low but at the same time still high frequency sound. But yeah, this is kind of a very, I think like years and years ago, I looked up like how to Skrillex, and then I found this and I was like, oh, cool. That's how you Skrillex. And I've used it from time to time. Okay. So we got the call, which is, and then we get the answer, and then we got another call, and then we got, actually, one sec. These are all fucked up now. And the answer is, which is, I made a folder called, what was it? Fucked, I think. Let's see. And I basically just I made a bunch of synth sounds. Yeah, here we go. And I sent them through some like super distortion. With, like some reverb before the distortion, shit like that. And I do that, anybody who's been following me for a little while knows that I just kind of spend full days making sounds so that I can drop them in real nice and quick and be able to use them for things like this. So again, what I could do here is hit F2 a few times, and then we can see that that's actually two different clips. And this one's up an octave. And when you pair it with this break beat, it kind of sounds like an old school like drum and bass kind of fill. And I think that's basically it. So if we look at the structure of it, we got dun dun dun, which is kind of a call, and then bow now now, which is the response. But then there's also another call, which is the bit bit bit, and then which is the response is. And then we got another call, and then the last response is. And of course, the vocals are just kind of going the whole time, doing their thing. But yeah, there's not really much to say about that. Let's see about the drums here. What we got? This is pretty typical kind of bass house top drum stuff. There's a 808. Like a super tight one. That's kind of what I wanted, like that super like closed off tight sound. Reverse clap, pretty standard stuff. Let's see what this is. That's somebody saying jump, but to me it almost sounded like a predecessor to that blowfish kind of sound. Like when I saw that blowfish song or that blowfish meme, that's what I thought. Like a slightly pitched down version of that. Okay. And then kick drum sidechain. Which is, I believe, the same kick drum. Again, we could do this. Same kick drum from the intro, but without that fade out, so it's a longer sample. And that's pretty much it. I mean, it's pretty standard bass house stuff. Which was, the whole idea of the song was kind of poking fun a little bit at like the fickle nature of really any musical genre. I mean, like bass house, I find goes through trends where they're always using like similar sounds or whatever, and that's fine. I mean, it is what it is. I still enjoy it. It's just, I just kind of was making a comment on that, which is the point of the stupid lyrics that I came up with. Okay, so that's the first part of the drop. So the biggest difference, I think, besides the drums picking up for the second part of the drop, there's a couple things, but I think the most notable one is the whoops, which is very easy to make. Really, those are the effects, a little bit of reverb, a little bit of EQ and distortion, but mostly all it is a detuned sawtooth, very detuned, as you can see, like super detuned, and a pitch envelope making it very quickly pitch up. And as we get closer to the end of the first drop, it picks up. And thus gives us a little bit of anticipation for the next part. So what else have we got in the second half of the first drop? Oh, this is okay. Okay. I always find these sounds are like so donkey or something, you know, like they're like kind of silly sounds. This is almost being played in too low of an octave for you to, you know, it's like really at the bottom range of what that sound can do, and I think that's part of what gives it that cool sound. Alternate saw pluck. Here we go. So we got a lot of noise happening. 3 octaves up in a 7 semitone. That perfect fifth sound. Little tiny bit of dimension. I'm not a fan of using the unison in the hyper dimension. I don't know why, but I just never really feel like it sounds that great. A little bit of reverb, some distortion. So that's kind of adding like a higher harmony to the bass line, I guess you could say. pretty much covers the second half. And then this is like the third half, I guess you could say, of the second, or of the first drop, sorry. This is the third half, which is kind of like, okay, now we're definitely building towards a breakdown. One of the biggest things is that riser comes in. We start to hear the, which really signifies, okay, we're going somewhere now. This comes in, which sounds pretty crazy, which is like an LFO'd out, detuned sawtooth kind of super saw with a crazy LFO on, I believe, the master tune. Yep. And if my CPU could handle it, you would be able to hear it better. What if we do this? Let's just solo the wubs. It's trying. My good old, I built this computer like 7 years ago, and I really went overkill on it, and that's why it's lasted me 7 years. Anyway, I diverge. I don't think that's the right saying. I diverge. Wow. Why can't I think? Okay, not the right word, but I don't remember what the right word is. So anyway, moving on. Okay, so we got a shaker, we got the vocals coming back in, a bunch of low pass shit, and this dirty synth that, and I just fucked something. And the dirty synth that was normally used as the response is now kind of the main star of this section. Let's put the, I hate that. Sorry. Okay. So that's that same Skrillex style, early Skrillex kind of bass sound. And this is obviously just controlling that low pass that I was talking about before. If we look at this. So that's about it. One thing I will know, we'll wait till we get there actually. Okay, so now we get to the build. Now, a lot of people, including myself, thought that this was Fowler Yells Fuck.mp3, but it's not. I had to open the project, and it's just the typical trap what. So, what else we got that's different from the first kind of build? Pretty much, I think the drums and the effects are all the same. I think it's just this guy. Is it the alt? Yes. Okay, so the biggest difference is this alternate saw pluck is in here now, which I think it's, which is the kind of what sets the second drop apart from the first drop, is that it's more focused on that higher register bass sound, but I'm introducing it in the build up, so you kind of know what to expect. Okay. And then that drum fill from before that I had kind of modulated is no longer modulated. It's just wide open. So second drop, like I said, the biggest thing, I think the drums are a little more wide open too. Let's take a listen. So it's generally just more energetic than the first drop to try and give it a progression from the start to the finish of the track. Drums are a little bit more wide open, but for the most part, I don't even know what this is. Like, what the I don't know what that is. I don't know why it's doing that. So one interesting thing is, for this call and response, besides the saw being added here, that's the biggest difference during this drop. Yeah, You know, there's, like I said, there's a few extra drums. So we got these. And that's pretty much it. And I guess the cymbal that comes in. The cymbal comes in on the. No, it comes in the same place. Anyway, the drums aren't changed up too much. They're just a little bit better, but or a little bit more energetic. The real thing is the saw being added in at the start, and this column or the response this time. Is going through boom comb, which I use on pretty much every track. And I'm just fucking with the speed. You know, you can mess with the speed, which is what's happening there. And that's making it sound a little different than the first one.
That's hot.
All right, and then it's everybody's favorite part of the song, because I managed to somehow get the legendary Dill to say "that's hot" on my track. Let's make this unique. I mean, it's already unique enough. He's quite a unique guy, you know. But I want to just show you what the original sounded like without any effects on it.
That's hot.
That's
hot.
Hot, I guess.
That's hot.
So that's the original.
That's hot.
So you can see right here, I'm fucking with the pitch to kind of accentuate what he was doing.
That's hot. That's hot.
I think I used to have it like really accentuated, but just...
That's hot. That's hot. That's hot.
So anyway, I took what he did, the kind of the pitch, the way that he said it with that sassiness, and I kind of tried to make the sassiness more sassy with this pitch envelope. And I think it worked.
That's hot.
And then that's me saying "hot damn," which is somewhere right there.
Hot damn! Hot damn!
Did a couple takes just to have some to choose from. I guess another difference in the second drop is that we get the crazy, the high kind of that sound. Okay, so second half of the second drop. Same sort of thing. We get, yeah, pretty much all the same. It's the second drop with the same additions as the second half of the first drop, if that makes sense. I know that you probably need some sort of math degree to understand that sentence, but it's fine. Okay. Third half of the second drop. Same thing, riser comes in, blah, 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 blah,
Get it while it's hot.
So that's a little text to speech thing.
Get it while it's hot. Cause in another week it will be not.
Get it while it's hot, cause in another week it will be not.
Get it while it's hot, cause in another week it will be not.
So that I just put it through a bunch of different, well, I guess three different voice models, and I picked the first one. And in the hot VIP, you can actually hear that full, the full.
Get it while it's hot. Cause in another week it will be not.
At the end, and that was just a little, I don't know, a little treat at the end of the VIP to set it aside from this one. So that's pretty much it. It's a bass house track with a bunch of little tiny things that hopefully add up to a cohesive song. And yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm always happy to share how I do things. And yeah, thanks for watching.